Captain Sarah Reynolds stood at the command center of the UES Harbinger, her fingers drumming against the polished steel console. The massive view screen before her displayed an approaching vessel that defied human engineering, a crystalline structure that seemed to float through space like a giant snowflake, refracting starlight in mesmerizing patterns. "All departments, final status check," she commanded, her voice steady despite the historic weight of the moment. Humanity's first contact with an alien civilization was about to unfold, and she'd be damned if they weren't going to do it right. The alien ship, belonging to the Zenthuri Collective, had initiated contact 3 days ago through light-based signals. Earth's linguists and scientists had worked around the clock to establish a basic communication protocol. Now, after centuries of wondering if we were alone in the universe, humanity was about to speak its first words to the stars. "Communications ready, Captain," Lieutenant James Chen reported, his hands hovering over the broadcast controls. "Translation matrix is aligned with their light signal frequency. They should receive our audio transmission converted into their spectrum." Reynolds took a deep breath. "Send the greeting package." The message was simple, crafted by Earth's finest diplomats, and translated into the Zenthuri's light language. "Greetings from humanity. We welcome peaceful contact and hope to share knowledge and friendship." The moment Chen activated the transmission, everything went wrong. The crystalline vessel shuddered. Fracture lines appeared across its translucent surface, like spider webs spreading across ice. Before anyone could react, the magnificent structure began to break apart, fragments spinning off into space as emergency force fields flickered to life around the rupturing sections. "Cut transmission," Reynolds shouted, but it was too late. The damage was cascading through the alien vessel's structure. Emergency pods of swirling light ejected from the fragmenting ship, carrying what she hoped were survivors. "What just happened?" Reynolds demanded, watching in horror as the Zenthuri vessel continued to disintegrate. Dr. Michael Harrison, the ship's xenobiologist, rushed to his instruments. "The readings are impossible," he muttered, then louder, "Captain, our transmission." The actual sound waves themselves. They're causing some kind of resonance effect in the ship's crystalline matrix. A new signal flashed across their screens, this time in urgent pulses of light that the translation matrix struggled to decode. When it finally came through, the message chilled everyone on the bridge. "Cease audio assault. Pain. Destruction. Retreat necessary. Danger. Sonic weapons detected." "Sonic weapons," Reynolds whispered. "We were just saying hello." The next 12 hours became a blur of emergency conferences with Earth Command. As debris from the Zenthuri vessel was carefully collected for analysis, a stunning truth emerged. The aliens had evolved in an environment where sound waves of human voice magnitude simply didn't exist. Their crystalline technology, their very biology, was vulnerable to the frequencies produced by human speech. 1 week later, Reynolds stood before the United Earth Council, delivering her report to a stunned audience. "We've confirmed that the Zenthuri communicate primarily through light patterns and chemical signatures," she explained. "Their civilization developed without the need for acoustic communication. Our voices, something we use every day without thought, are powerful enough to shatter their technology and cause them physical pain." The implications were staggering. Humanity had unknowingly been carrying what the galaxy would soon consider a biological weapon in their throats all along. As more data poured in from the Zenthuri's emergency transmissions, they learned that sound-based communication at human levels was unprecedented among known spacefaring races. The final paragraph of Reynolds' report would be quoted in history books for centuries to come. "In trying to speak our first words to the stars, we accidentally demonstrated why the galaxy might have good reason to fear us. Human voices, evolved over millions of years to carry across predator-filled savannas and echo through primitive caves, are quite literally alien to the wider universe. We must now face the possibility that the very thing that makes us human, our voice, might become our greatest diplomatic challenge in the stars." As she concluded her report, Reynolds couldn't help but wonder. How do you establish peaceful relations with a galaxy that considers your every word a potential act of war? Admiral Marcus Hayes watched Earth disappear behind the shimmering purple barrier of the quarantine field, his hand unconsciously touching the metal collar around his throat. The device hummed softly, dampening his voice to a whisper, a safety requirement for all humans traveling beyond their solar system. Approaching Galactic Council Station Delta, his AI assistant displayed in text across his retinal implant. Even shipboard computers were no longer allowed to speak with human voices. The massive station loomed ahead, its spiral arms gleaming with the bioluminescent patterns that served as the primary language for most advanced species. 3 months had passed since the Zentheri disaster, and humanity's position in the galaxy had devolved from promising newcomers to potential weapons of mass destruction. Hayes remembered the Council's emergency session that had sealed Earth's fate. The chamber had been filled with representatives from 200 species, each more alien than the last. Some communicated through patterns of light that danced across their skin, others through complex pheromone combinations, and a few through barely detectable telepathic fields. Not one of them used sound waves powerful enough to affect physical matter. The human vocal apparatus, Ambassador Exilvex had declared through her light pattern translator, produces acoustic waves that can shatter molecular bonds. Their children's laughter could collapse our nursery pods. Their songs could destroy our cities. Even their whispers resonate at frequencies that cause our elders pain. Now Hayes was headed to yet another council meeting, this time to protest the increasingly restrictive quarantine measures. The station's docking bay shimmered with warning lights as his ship approached, the universal symbol for dangerous species aboard. A delegation of Zentheri representatives waited in the airlock, their crystalline forms carefully reinforced with energy shields. Hayes noted how they flinched when his boots clicked against the floor, despite his vocal suppressor. "Welcome, Admiral Hayes," scrolled across his vision as one of the Zentheri pulsed in complex patterns. "Please proceed to decontamination." The decontamination process had nothing to do with bacteria or viruses. Instead, sensors scanned his vocal cords, measuring their potential output. Additional dampening fields surrounded him as he walked, creating a bubble of near silence. The humiliation of it all made his jaw clench. In the council chamber, Hayes took his assigned seat, isolated in a soundproof booth at the far end of the room. The other representatives sat in the open, free to communicate naturally. The message was clear. Humanity was too dangerous to mingle with civilized species. "The Council recognizes Earth's representative," flashed the main display. Hayes touched a panel, allowing his whispered words to be converted into acceptable light patterns. "Earth demands the removal of the quarantine field," he began. "Our scientists have developed protocols to prevent acoustic damage. We're willing to maintain voice suppression measures, but cutting us off from interstellar trade is." A Myraxian representative interrupted with a burst of bright colors that translated as, "Just yesterday, a human child's sneeze cracked the viewport of a trading vessel. The suppressors are not enough." Evidence began floating in the air around Hayes, holographic displays of incidents involving human voices. A construction worker's frustrated shout had disrupted a zero-gravity assembly line. A group of human tourists humming in appreciation of artwork had caused ancient crystal sculptures to resonate dangerously. Even recordings of human voices, played at normal volumes, could interfere with the delicate technologies most species relied upon. "The quarantine stands," declared High Counselor Vexthora, her skin rippling with authoritative patterns. Furthermore, the Council proposes additional restrictions. All human diplomatic staff must now use text-only communications. Vocal suppression collars will be upgraded to completely neutralize sound production in non-human spaces. Hayes felt the weight of 200 alien gazes, all seeing him as a weapon with legs. Humanity had dreamed of reaching the stars, but they never imagined they'd be feared for something as fundamental as speaking. As he left the chamber, Hayes noticed how other species gave him a wide berth, their environmental shields strengthening as he passed. In the space of 3 months, humanity had gone from potential allies to pariahs. Their voices, the very thing that had helped them build civilizations, share stories, and express their deepest emotions, had become their prison. Dr. Marcus Blackwood stood in his underground laboratory at MIT, staring at the impossible readings on his holographic display. Behind him, a salvaged piece of Xanthari crystal floated in a containment field, vibrating in response to carefully controlled sound waves. "Play it again," he instructed his assistant, Dr. Rachel Martinez. "Focus on the E-flat frequency." The crystal began to pulse with an inner light as the sound waves washed over it. But instead of fracturing as expected, it began to resonate in harmony, creating a stable energy field that expanded outward. The reading showed something extraordinary. The crystal wasn't just responding to the sound, it was amplifying and transforming it. "This isn't destruction," Blackwood whispered, his eyes wide. "It's synchronization. We've been looking at it all wrong." 3 levels above them, the official MIT acoustics lab sat empty and abandoned. After the quarantine, most sound-based research had been banned. But Blackwood had refused to accept the silence. With help from sympathetic colleagues, he built this secret facility in an old Cold War bunker, deep enough to shield their experiments from surface sensors. "Look at this pattern," Martine said, highlighting a section of the data. "The crystal's atomic structure isn't breaking down. It's reorganizing itself to match our harmonic frequencies. If we can control this process." Their breakthrough came at 3:47 a.m. when Blackwood attempted something radical. He sang to the crystal. Not random notes, but an ancient Gregorian chant he'd learned during his college choir days. The crystal's response was immediate and stunning. It began to emit patterns of light identical to those used in alien communication systems. "We're not weapons," Blackwood realized. "We're universal translators. Our voices can interface directly with their technology because sound waves are the missing link in their evolution. They never developed acoustic communication, so they never discovered its full potential." Within weeks, a network of underground laboratories sprouted across Earth's major cities. Singers, voice actors, and vocal coaches were quietly recruited. Ancient techniques from every human culture, Mongolian throat singing, Gregorian chants, Tibetan overtone singing, were studied with new purpose. In a converted subway tunnel beneath New York City, opera singer Maria Salvador discovered she could create force fields by hitting and sustaining precise frequencies. In Sydney, a children's choir learned to manipulate alien energy systems through harmonic convergence. Beneath London's old underground, voice therapist James Chen found that certain vowel sounds could interface with alien computer systems. They called themselves the echo chamber, and their movement grew in whispers and harmonies. Each discovery was more incredible than the last. Human voices, properly trained and focused, could do more than destroy. They could control, create, and transform alien technology in ways its makers never imagined. "The Council thinks they've caged us," Blackwood told his expanding team as they gathered in the main laboratory. "But they've actually forced us to discover our true potential. Every species in the galaxy evolved to communicate through light or chemicals or telepathy. Only humans developed the ability to physically shape the world with our voices." The implications were staggering. The vocal suppression collars weren't just controlling humans. They were handicapping humanity's greatest evolutionary advantage. Each successful experiment proved that human voices could revolutionize alien technology, creating interfaces and applications their original designers never conceived. But secrecy was paramount. The echo chamber established cells worldwide, each working on different applications of their discoveries. They developed hand signals and light codes to communicate in public, while in their underground facilities, they trained their voices to become instruments of unprecedented precision. As Blackwood reviewed the latest data from his global network, he felt both hope and apprehension. The galaxy feared human voices because they could shatter crystalline ships. How much more would they fear humanity when they discovered that those same voices could command their technology, bypass their security, and reshape their energy fields? "We're not just learning to survive in their galaxy," he noted in his encrypted journal. "We're learning to thrive in ways they never imagined possible." The question is, when the time comes to reveal our true capabilities, will they listen to what we have to say? Captain Lisa Rodriguez watched the Craxian warship emerge from hyperspace, its obsidian hull bristling with weapon ports. Her cargo vessel, the Morning Star, carried 30 crew members and a hold full of Earth agricultural products, an easy target for the notorious pirates. "All hands," she subvocalized through the ship's secure network, careful not to trigger her vocal suppression collar. "Initiate Protocol Songbird." The Craxians were infamous throughout the galaxy, their chitinous exoskeletons and superior technology, making them fearsome raiders. They specifically targeted human ships now, knowing the crews wore vocal suppressors. Easy prey, or so they thought. "Attention Earth vessel." The pirates' transmission scrolled across their screens in aggressive red text. "Power down and prepare for boarding. Any resistance will result in hull breach." Rodriguez smiled slightly, watching her crew take their positions. 3 months of secret training in the Echo Chamber's Australian facility was about to pay off. "Send the standard surrender signal," she ordered. "Let them think we're helpless." The Craxian boarding shuttle latched onto their primary airlock. Security feeds showed 12 heavily armed pirates, their black exoskeletons gleaming under the emergency lights. They moved with the confidence of predators who'd done this 100 times before. "Look at these pathetic voiceless ones," the pirate's leader chittered through the translator, mandibles clicking in amusement. "The galaxy's weakest species, muzzled like animals." The pirates spread through the ship's corridors, heading for the cargo hold where the crew had apparently gathered to surrender. Rodriguez touched her collar, triggering the hidden mechanism Dr. Blackwood's team had installed. Around the ship, 30 other collars quietly deactivated. The cargo hold doors hissed open. The pirates found the human crew standing in a perfect circle, their faces serene. No weapons, no resistance. Just 30 humans, arranged with suspicious precision. "Something's wrong," the pirate leader began to say, but it was too late. The humans took a synchronized breath and began to hum. The sound started low, barely perceptible, but perfectly tuned to the resonant frequency of Craxian exoskeletons. The pirates' translator systems exploded in sparks as the harmonized sound waves built upon each other, creating standing waves that penetrated their armor. "Weapons," the leader screamed, but their energy rifles were already vibrating apart in their hands. Tiny cracks appeared in their exoskeletons, spreading like lightning across their armored surfaces. The humans shifted pitch, their collective hum rising in both frequency and intensity. They'd practiced this for weeks, learning to blend their voices with machine-like precision. Each note was carefully calculated to stress different molecular bonds in the pirates' armor and technology. The Craxians fell to their knees, their fearsome exoskeletons crumbling like dried clay. Their boarding shuttle systems failed as the sound waves propagated through the hull, disrupting its quantum circuitry. In less than 2 minutes, the deadliest pirates in the sector had been reduced to writhing forms covered in shattered armor. "Call your ship," Rodriguez ordered the leader, her voice clear and strong without the suppressor. "Tell them to retreat, or we'll sing your vessel apart bolt by bolt." The footage of the incident, captured by the ship's security systems, spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Morning Star's manifest became public. 30 crew members, all trained in specific harmonizing techniques. Their synchronized humming had disabled a Craxian assault force without firing a shot. The galaxy's response was immediate and panicked. The Craxians, feared throughout known space for their nearly impenetrable armor, had been defeated by unarmed humans using nothing but their voices. Species began evacuating sectors near human space, fearing that their own technologies might be equally vulnerable. In her private cabin later, Rodriguez recorded an encrypted message to the Echo Chamber. "Test successful. The Craxians never realized we weren't just attacking their armor. We were gathering data on how different frequencies affect various alien materials. Everything we learned will help refine our techniques. She paused, considering the implications of what they discovered. The galaxy thought suppressing our voices would weaken us. Instead, they forced us to perfect them into something far more powerful than simple speech. They wanted silence. They're about to get a symphony. Amanda Hayes slipped through the crystalline corridors of the Galactic Council's inner sanctum, her diplomatic credentials granting her access to areas few humans had ever seen. As Earth's junior diplomatic attaché, she was supposed to be reviewing trade agreements. Instead, she was following a trail of encrypted data that had caught her attention 3 days ago. The council chambers glowed with bioluminescent light, empty save for the quantum computers processing endless streams of diplomatic data. Her modified contact lenses, courtesy of the echo chamber, translated the alien light script floating in the air around her. Project Silencer. She mouthed silently, her suppression collar preventing even a whisper from escaping. The classified files scrolled across her vision. Medical diagrams, genetic sequences, surgical procedures. Her blood ran cold as she realized what she was seeing. The safety procedures the Council had proposed weren't meant to protect alien species from human voices. They were a carefully orchestrated plan to permanently alter human vocal cords, disguised as a medical requirement for interstellar travel. Ambassador Hayes, a melodic series of light pulses interrupted her thoughts. This area is restricted during processing hours. High Counselor Vex Thora stood in the doorway, her crystalline form refracting the ambient light. The alien surface rippled with suspicious patterns. My apologies, Hayes typed into her translator. I was reviewing the new medical protocols. Ah yes, Vex Thora's patterns shifted to what Hayes recognized as satisfaction. The procedures will ensure peaceful integration of your species into galactic society. The surgeries begin next month. Hayes maintained her diplomatic smile while her mind raced. The Council wasn't just planning to modify their voices. They were attempting to eliminate humanity's greatest advantage before they'd fully understood it. She had to warn Earth. But as she turned to leave, security alerts flashed through the chamber. Someone had detected her unauthorized data access. Detain her, Vex Thora commanded as crystalline security drones materialized from the walls. Hayes reached up and touched her collar in a precise pattern. The echo chamber's modifications activated, and for the first time in months, she could speak freely. Now, she shouted into her encrypted communicator. The chamber's walls vibrated as harmonized voices filled the air. 500 human diplomatic staff and service workers, scattered throughout the station, had removed their modified collars. They began to sing. The sound was unlike anything the galaxy had ever heard. Each voice had been trained to a specific frequency, creating a symphony of precise acoustic manipulation. Security barriers shattered. Computer systems resonated with new programming frequencies. The crystalline architecture of the station itself began to pulse in rhythm with the human chorus. Stop this at once. Vex Thora's patterns became chaotic with panic. You fear our voices. Hayes stood in the center of the chamber, her own voice joining the chorus. Then hear what they can really do. The human song changed pitch, demonstrating the full range of their capabilities. They weren't just destroying. They were controlling, reshaping, and even improving the station's systems. Under the influence of their harmonized voices, alien technology began working in ways its creators had never imagined possible. We discovered something during our quarantine, Hayes announced to the gathering council members, her voice carrying through halls designed for silent light speech. Our voices aren't a weapon to be caged. They're a tool you never evolved to understand. The station's primary systems now pulsed in sync with the human chorus, proving that voice-based control could enhance rather than destroy alien technology. In the space of 10 minutes, humanity had transformed from quarantined primitives to masters of the Council's most secure facility. Your choice is simple, Hayes addressed the stunned Council. Work with us as equals, or force us to demonstrate even more of what human voices can do. We won't be silenced. We won't be modified. And we certainly won't let you surgically remove the very thing that makes us unique in the galaxy. As the chorus faded, leaving the station humming with new power, Hayes smiled at the assembled alien representatives. Now then, shall we discuss a new peace agreement? One where humanity's voice is actually heard. The Council's warships darkened Earth's skies like a swarm of metallic locusts, their crystalline weapons charging with deadly intent. In response, hundreds of transport ships lifted off from Earth's surface, carrying what appeared to be unarmed civilians. Admiral Marcus Hayes watched from the command center as Operation Crescendo began. All war choir vessels, assume formation Delta, he ordered through the quantum comm. Remember your training. Every voice has its part to play. The transport ships arranged themselves in a complex three-dimensional pattern above Earth's atmosphere. Each vessel carried 200 trained vocalists, opera singers, choir members, voice actors, and others who'd spent months perfecting their acoustic abilities under the echo chamber's guidance. Council vessels approaching weapons range, his tactical officer reported. They're charging primary crystal arrays. Hayes activated the global channel. War Choir, commence symphony in battle major. 10,000 voices rose in perfect harmony. The sound propagated through space, carried by specially designed acoustic amplifiers. The first wave hit the Council fleet like an invisible tsunami. Crystalline weapons cracked. Energy shields fluctuated as the carefully calibrated frequencies interfered with their quantum matrices. Movement 1 complete, Hayes announced. Begin Movement 2. The choir split into specialized sections. Bass voices generated low-frequency barriers that deflected enemy fire. Sopranos projected high-frequency pulses that disrupted targeting systems. Tenors and altos wove complex harmonies that turned the very fabric of space into a conductor for their acoustic assault. On the Council's flagship, High Commander Zexval watched in horror as humans demonstrated mastery over sound that defied physics. Impossible. His light patterns flickered frantically. They're singing their ships into perfect defensive formations. Indeed, the human vessels moved with unprecedented precision, their positions guided by overlapping waves of sonic energy. When Council ships fired, they found their crystal beams bent away by standing waves of pure sound. Movement 3, Hayes commanded. Battle Hymn of the Void. The war choir's voices merged into a single, overwhelming force. The sound they produced wasn't just noise. It was a precisely engineered acoustic template that could reprogram quantum systems. Council ships found their own crystalline technology responding to human voices, their systems recognizing the songs as valid command protocols. They're hacking our ships by singing. A Council technician's patterns flashed in panic. The humans have learned to speak directly to our technology. The tide of battle turned as the war choir demonstrated humanity's true potential. Ships that had evolved over millennia to respond to light and quantum signals now danced to human music. The Council's mighty armada found itself outmaneuvered by creatures they'd try to silence. Final movement, Hayes ordered, pride evident in his voice. Show them what Earth's children can really do. 10,000 voices united in a chord that rippled through space-time itself. The sound carried messages encoded in frequencies that bypassed all known communication barriers. Every species in the fleet, regardless of their biology, heard the human song in their own way. As light, as neural patterns, as quantum fluctuations. The message was clear. Humanity wouldn't be silenced, couldn't be silenced, for their voices had become something far beyond mere tools of communication. They were instruments of creation and change, capable of bridging the gaps between different forms of life and technology. High Commander Zexval raised the surrender signal, his crystalline form vibrating with newfound respect and fear. We acknowledge your mastery, his patterns conveyed. The galaxy has greatly underestimated humanity's potential. As the Council fleet retreated, Hayes addressed the war corps. Today, we didn't just win a battle. We proved that human voices, the very thing they feared, could become the key to understanding and controlling technologies we weren't supposed to comprehend. They tried to silence us, but in doing so, they forced us to discover abilities that will reshape the galaxy itself. The war choir celebrated with a victory song that echoed through space, serving both as a celebration and a reminder. Humanity's voice would never be caged again. Dr. Marcus Blackwood stood before the gathered representatives of 50 alien species, his voice suppressor conspicuously absent. Behind him, a damaged Zentheri crystal ship hung suspended in the massive demonstration chamber of the Echo Chamber's newly revealed facility. For too long, he began, his voice carrying clearly through the specialized acoustic environment. We've all focused on what human voices can destroy. Today, we show you what they can create. The assembled aliens shifted nervously, their personal shields at maximum strength. The recent memory of the war choir's victory was still fresh in their minds. But this time, they hadn't come to witness a weapon. They'd come to see a miracle. Begin Phase 1. Blackwood nodded to his team of vocalists, each positioned strategically around the damaged vessel. The singers started with a low, gentle harmony that resonated through the chamber. Instead of the shattering frequencies used in battle, these sounds were carefully calibrated to match the crystal ship's natural resonance. The damaged sections began to glow with a soft, pulsing light. The same frequencies that can break molecular bonds, Blackwood explained, can also strengthen them. Watch. The harmony shifted, incorporating higher notes that wove through the bass resonance. Where the ship's crystalline structure was cracked, the sound waves began to influence the molecular structure itself. The assembled aliens watched in amazement as the damage slowly began to reverse. Impossible, flashed the patterns of a Zentheri scientist. You're not just repairing it. You're improving its structural integrity. Blackwood smiled. Human voices span a remarkable range of frequencies. We've learned to use them not just for communication or destruction, but for manipulation at the quantum level. Phase 2, please. A new group of singers joined in, their voices adding complex overtones to the healing harmony. The ship's crystal structure began to pulse in sync with their song, its energy systems reactivating under the influence of perfectly tuned human voices. We're not just fixing the damage, Blackwood continued. We're teaching the crystal matrix new resonance patterns. The ship will be 40% more efficient than its original design. The demonstration continued as the human singers showed how different vocal combinations could enhance various alien technologies. They improved the efficiency of quantum processors, strengthened molecular bonds in construction materials, and even demonstrated how human voices could create new interfaces between incompatible alien systems. But our greatest discovery, Blackwood said, gesturing to a final team of vocalists, is this. The new group began to sing, producing sounds that seemed to exist on the edge of normal perception. The aliens in the chamber suddenly found their natural communication methods, light, pheromones, telepathy, enhanced and interconnected in ways they'd never experienced. We've learned to bridge the gap between different forms of communication, Blackwood explained, as patterns of light, chemical signatures, and thought patterns merged into a seamless exchange of information. Human voices can serve as a universal translator, converting and amplifying the natural communication methods of every known species. The implications were staggering. Humanity's voices, once feared as weapons of mass destruction, could become the key to unprecedented cooperation between species. Technologies that had evolved along completely different paths could now work together, guided by the precise frequencies of human speech. The galaxy feared our voices because they could shatter your ships, Blackwood concluded as the demonstration ended. But that same power, properly understood and controlled, can heal, create, and unite. We're not asking you to forget what human voices can destroy. We're asking you to help us explore what they can build. As the alien representatives began excitedly sharing data about what they'd witnessed, Blackwood reflected on the journey that had brought them here. The quarantine, meant to silence humanity, had instead forced them to perfect their voices into something far beyond mere speech. They had turned their greatest perceived weakness into a power that could reshape the galaxy itself. "Let this be the beginning," he announced to the chamber, "of a new symphony, one where every species contributes its own unique note to the greater harmony of the galaxy." 1 year after the battle opera and Dr. Blackwood's revelation, the Great Hall of the Harmonious Exchange stood as humanity's crowning achievement. The massive structure, built on neutral space between Earth and Xanthari Prime, incorporated elements from every known spacefaring civilization, all unified through acoustic engineering. Ambassador Amanda Hayes stood at the central podium, her voice carrying naturally through the chamber's perfectly tuned architecture. Around her, representatives from 300 species gathered for the inauguration of the Living Symphony project. "A year ago," she began, "the galaxy feared human voices. Today we gather to celebrate how those same voices have transformed our understanding of what's possible." The chamber itself demonstrated this transformation. Crystalline walls pulsed with light patterns that translated speech into various alien communication forms. Quantum processors, enhanced by precisely tuned vocal frequencies, created interfaces between incompatible technologies. Even the air itself seemed to shimmer with possibility. "Begin the initialization sequence," Hayes nodded to the assembled human choir. 200 voices rose in perfect harmony, their sound weaving through the chamber's specialized acoustic channels. The entire structure began to respond, each architectural element resonating with specific frequencies. What had once been separate systems, crystalline computing, quantum networks, biochemical interfaces, merged into something entirely new. "The Living Symphony isn't just a name," Hayes explained as alien representatives watched in wonder. "It's a new form of technology that uses human voices as the bridge between different species innovations. Every material, every system, every form of communication working together in perfect harmony." Dr. Marcus Blackwood stepped forward, joining Hayes at the podium. The former rebel scientist now served as chief coordinator of interspecies technologies. "Show them the full capability," he suggested. The choir shifted their song, demonstrating how human voices could now enhance and control every known form of alien technology. Xanthari crystals grew and reshaped themselves under vocal guidance. Quantum computers processed data through sound wave interfaces. Even telepathic species found their abilities amplified and clarified through carefully tuned frequencies. But the greatest breakthrough, Hayes continued, isn't just technological. "Professor Chen, if you would." The massive screens around the chamber activated, showing scenes from across the galaxy. Human vocal trainers working with alien scientists to develop new technologies. The echo chamber, once a secret resistance movement, now transformed into an open research institution. The war choir reformed into the Galactic Harmony Corps, using their voices to repair damage and improve infrastructure across dozens of worlds. "In trying to silence us," Hayes observed, "the galaxy forced us to perfect our voices into something extraordinary. What was once feared as a weapon has become the foundation of a new era of cooperation and advancement." The evidence was everywhere. Human colonies, once quarantined, now hosted massive acoustic research facilities. Alien ships, their systems enhanced by human vocal interfaces, achieved previously impossible levels of efficiency. Even the Craxian pirates, their mighty exoskeletons once shattered by human voices, had become enthusiastic partners in developing new applications for acoustic technology. "The Living Symphony proves that every species' unique traits have value," Hayes concluded. "Today, we don't just share technology or resources, we share understanding. Human voices have become the universal translator, the bridge between different forms of life and technology." As if to demonstrate this point, the choir began the Galactic Anthem, a new composition that incorporated elements from every known form of communication. Light patterns danced in harmony with the sound. Chemical signals pulsed in rhythm. Telepathic species felt the music as patterns of pure thought. For the first time, every being in the chamber experienced the same song in their own natural way. "This is humanity's true voice," Hayes declared as the anthem reached its crescendo. Not a weapon to be feared, but a gift to be shared. Together, we'll write a new symphony, one that encompasses all the voices of the galaxy. The chamber erupted in a celebration that transcended traditional species barriers. Light, sound, chemical signals, and thought patterns merged into a single expression of joy and unity. The galaxy had feared human voices because they didn't understand them. Now those same voices had become the key to a future where no species needed to fear being silenced again.